always a pleasure to welcome to the show Martin Kemp.
Hey,
Hello.
nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
That's so kind of you. Listen, and it's always a pleasure, whatever the reason, TV show, whatever it is. But today, a novel. You've written a novel.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, last time I was in with you, it was about a biography.
Yeah.
So I've written a few biographies in the past, and I've written some movie scripts that have been turned into movies. And so the novel was kind of like the next step.
Yeah.
Really. It was a piece of fiction that was missing.
And I love this idea. So this was I mean, I don't know, is he an alter ego or is he an alternative ego?
No, he is an amalgamation of all the rock stars that I've ever met in my life, whether it be Bowie or Freddie Mercury or the boys from Led Zeppelin or Queen, whoever it is an amalgamation. And it basically is about a rock star who loses absolutely everything on his uppers, hasn't got a penny left, and a friend of his has to put him in a little bed sit above an Indian restaurant in Brick Lane. And the Indian restaurant is kind of like dedicated to Elvis. Yeah. And it's about the holes that he digs himself that he has to get out of, and that's the thriller. So I take him through London's underworld, and I take him on this horrible journey that he would never have imagined that he would be in.
And Johnny Klein, this is a name you have used.
Yeah. I mean, it was my pseudonym that used to follow me around the world when I used to tour with Spandau. When I used to check into those hotels and you didn't want the kids to find out what room number you were in. So I would check in as Johnny Klein. And then he was on my bag tags on the laminates that used to follow me around, So I've had the name and I've had the kind of like the premise for the book for such a long time. And it was just such a breath of fresh air to get him out and get him breathing and bring him to life.
Because I think you say in the little intro, you pitched an idea for Johnny Klein years ago.
Years ago, yeah. I mean, it's not quite the same, but it was as soon as I finished the Klein movie, I had this idea because, Spandau was coming to an end then.
Yeah.
And so I pitched the idea, but it didn't really take off because I didn't have it right. But it was an idea that has been on the top shelf of my brain for so long, collecting dust, that I just wanted to get it out there. So fiction was the right way to go.
And you have been so fortunate because you've avoided all the Johnny Klein pitfalls, all the kind of the bad luck and the terrible mistakes Johnny Klein has made. You didn't.
Well, only I don't know how I didn't, but I didn't. But only I think because I went to a drama school when I was a real young kid. Anna Scher, who we lost recently?
Yeah, she just died this week.
Yeah, last week she died, last Monday. And she was such a huge influence in my life. And I think because I spent about 7-8 years there, she set me up for the rest of my life. She showed me that whatever you did inside this bubble called entertainment was a piece of theatre. And whether that's playing in a rock band, because a lot of guys in rock bands, they stop seeing it as a job and as a piece of theatre, but they see it as a lifestyle. And I think because of that, because of Anna, who kind of built my personality at such a young age, I was able to carry on and do other things.
But I think a lot of kids, when they find a huge success that you found, like in Spandau, they somehow think this is going to last forever. But you were the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, it was always in my brain. I think it's because of Anna and the way that I came up and watching great actors work in front of cameras and then all of a sudden walk off the set and go back to being normal people, that it became embedded in me that rock and roll isn't a lifestyle. And I think it was because of that, and I think it was because of Anna, the way that she taught me when I was a kid.
But you'd have nightmares about it.
Oh yeah, listen, I used to, in the middle of the 80s, 85, 86, when Spandau were probably one of the biggest bands in the world, even if I say so myself, Graham.
But this is just facts. This is facts, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah,
but one of the biggest band in the world, and there would be moments when I would think, so where do I go now? What do I do if it all goes wrong? Because you're left with absolutely zero. You've got no money to cover you. You've got no future, but all you have is a famous face, and how that would hinder you in getting back into real life. So where do you take that? And that was part of the reasoning behind and part of the idea behind Johnny Klein. He has to get around the hindrance of having a famous face, even though he is on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, you've worked in soaps.
Yeah.
And I always feel that's the hardest thing. When you leave a soap, you're still so famous.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I had this one time, I'll never forget being on, when I was in EastEnders, it was like 20 million people a night was watching that show. And I remember standing in a supermarket queue and there was this old woman standing in front of me. And she turned around and she said, "I knew it was you. I recognised your breathing." You're breathing. She recognised the breathing.
That's famous. Yeah, that's famous, ladies and gentlemen.
So listen, but that was EastEnders at its height.